Let's welcome Kenzie Hoelscher to the show. Kenzie, we were just talking about your name, and so I got all tripped up. But anyways, Kenzie, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, James.
I bet we're gonna have so Linda's our editor. I have a feeling she's gonna want to keep some of that in just to joke
It
around and mess with me.
was a pretty
Yeah,
good way to start.
yeah. Well, hey, at least now you know it's like, hey, it's like a genuine conversation. No need to be perfect because I took that pressure off, right? Like this guy. We're coming up on the 200th episode. You would think by now, like, you know, but
That's amazing. I didn't realize it was 200. That's great.
yeah, it's wild. It's actually that's going to be the one we release on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, that's kind of wild. I started the
Yeah.
show 4 years ago, so
Okay.
it's been a minit.
So how many is that per year then that you've been doing?
Well,
50?
it's like it hasn't been consistent exactly. Because
Okay.
we've kind of changed, had different iterations of the show, but now we're posting at a cadence of two per week. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's gonna add up pretty fast at this point.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's fantastic.
yeah, it's a good time. Well, yeah, anyways, we're really happy to have you here. Just for everybody tuning in, Kenzie's currently at Assembly AI, and she's leading the recruiting efforts over there. So we'll talk a little bit about that too at some point.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, Kenzie, so where are you from?
Well, I guess we kind of talked about this before, but I'm actually originally from Minnesota. But I the past 5 years lived between Wyoming and South Dakota. So kind of like slowly inching my way back to Minnesota at this point. But yeah, I originally grew up in Minnesota in the suburbs of Minneapolis.
Nice. Nice. Okay, cool. What was
Yeah.
that like?
It was good. I mean, I was there. We moved around quite a bit when I was little. I mean, Lake Minnetonka is like a pretty big name in Minnesota, but we like lived in almost every town, I feel like, around Lake Minnetonka. Um, and yeah, I was there up until I was about 16, 17, until I got sent to boarding school. So, and then I was in St. Louis, Missouri,
Is that where
which
the
is an
boarding
old,
school was? St. Louis?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, I went to St. Louis for boarding school, but it was like, I mean, Missouri is a whole different experience than Minnesota. So
yeah.
it was fun to be able to see what that like different, I don't know, just like going from Minnesota to Missouri, it's just going from like cold winter lake town to cicadas
Cicadas.
everywhere.
That's your famous memory.
I
Nice.
do, yeah, I did remember that pretty, so yeah. Anyway.
Nice, nice. So what were you like as a kid? What were you into?
Um, Gosh, I would say I grew up quite a tomboy. It's funny, like I think about this a lot, but I remember like growing up, the first thing I do when I got out of bed was run out to my backyard. We had a big pond in our backyard to go catch frogs. I don't know if that was anything that you ever used to do, but it was like
Oh,
one of my hobbies growing up was catching frogs. So I'd go out to this pond and I'd catch frogs every day, put them in my bucket, carry them around with me. I think I built a rope swing on every single tree in my neighborhood. So I basically was like Jane with Tarzan,
nice.
just every tree. And my best friend Charlie at the time, I think we both built like three different tree forts as well in our neighborhood. So yeah,
Nice.
I was kind of reckless. I was one of four kids, and so and I was a middle child, and you know what middle children I feel like always are the ones that end up being the troublemakers, I guess. But yeah, kind of just grew up out. I love the outdoors. I've always loved the outdoors and very spontaneous, and a little rebellious as I got older. So
Nice.
yeah,
But you're building
yeah,
your own tree forts. That was tree forts are cool. They're still cool. I don't care how old
yeah.
they're gonna, I think tree forts are
I
cool.
tree forts are awesome. I can't remember like exactly. I mean, obviously it was so long ago, but um, we got pretty far by ourselves. Like I think one of our neighbors, he was in the construction business, and he would like help and like would basically donate to us like any extra wood that we could use to build these tree forts. And we actually hammered together some of these
That
by
is awesome.
ourselves.
So these were like
And
legitimate
yeah,
structures.
yeah. And I remember, and I thinking back on it now, I'm like so surprised that my parents weren't more worried that I was out there in trees, like with hammers,
Yeah,
building a tree fort as like a 10-year-old.
it was a different time.
But
Different time.
yeah, oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I remember like leaving my house in the morning and not coming back until,
Yeah,
dinner time. It was
yeah.
just, yeah.
Could you imagine letting your daughter do that?
Ugh, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm way more strict with my daughter, but she's only 2.
Right.
I think where
Give
we
her another
live
year
right
or two.
now,
Yeah.
yeah. Where we live right now, I would feel okay doing that.
Yeah.
We're like in a really small town in South Dakota and in a safe neighborhood, but I don't know. I guess I'll have to see once we get to that point in a couple years.
Yeah, I guess it depends heavily on where you live, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like where I
Yeah.
live, it's Reston, Virginia, which is incredibly, when I was growing up around here, it was not as busy. It was like starting to get busy or starting to get more
Yeah.
populated, but there was like farmland and stuff like that here also. And then it's basically now it's just insanely populated because the toll road goes like right into DC.
Okay, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
definitely different. Yeah, not the right type of neighborhood to just let your kid
Yeah.
outside all day. It's
Yeah.
a nice
See,
area. It's just too populated. It's too many people.
yeah. And like we live in a 500 person town.
Oh, that's pretty
We're
cool.
like we're like 40, maybe 40 minutes from Rapid City, which is like a lot more populated, but yeah, I mean, you have to drive in here and there's only like 500 people around this town and really there's a lot of just like ranches and like
Nice.
all around and so it's pretty distributed, but our neighborhood is like we have like a little path that goes right into town and but I mean, you probably see the same 500 people every day.
Yeah, that's cool. See,
Yeah.
that's not an experience that I've had. So,
Yeah, yeah. I actually love it. I'm like, I wish, yeah. I think everyone should experience it once in their life because it's pretty fun to be in a small little town. But and in Wyoming, we were in another small town, which was like 1,500 people maybe. That was a little bit more secluded because I think the closest town to us was Jackson Hole, and even Jackson Hole isn't like that big of a town. So
yeah.
like if we wanted to go to Target or anything like that, we'd have to drive an hour and a half. And then I remember we would do like Costco runs and we would have to drive all the way to Idaho Falls, which was like a 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah,
So that was a little different because you
gotta
definitely were a
prepare.
lot more secluded from like a city. Whereas like Rapid City now, which is like 40 minutes away, they have Target, Walmart, everything.
Yeah.
So we went from an hour and a half drive to 40-minute drive, which is nice.
For me, it's sort of the
Yeah.
opposite because I'm in such like a densely populated area, but
Yeah.
I like to take my daughter to areas like in the Shenandoah Mountains, where it's
Oh
like
yeah.
away from everyone. So we like have to be intentional about getting an hour and a half away from everything, like from
Yeah.
grocery stores or whatever else. Like we have to really work for it. But like we're gonna go to a cabin in Tennessee over spring break, which I'm really excited in Gatlinburg,
Okay.
Smoky Mountains.
Yes. I think
Um,
that's all over my TikTok.
yeah, yeah. So we're going
Yeah.
there, or sometimes we'll go to West Virginia or just different areas that are just like way more secluded and away from everything. I feel like that's really
Yeah.
important in tech to have balance, to get
Yeah.
away from just the craziness and pace of everything.
Yeah. I feel like so I get like the opposite, right? Like I get times where I'm like, I'm so secluded, I need to get into a city. And so I'm really lucky that our company does offsites every once in a while. And then like just last week I got to go into the office in New York City because I was filming another podcast and I was like, this is just so nice to like get, a little bit of like the city girl out of me. But
Nice.
I'm always ready to go home for a little bit and get back to like my secludedness and be out in the forest. But yeah, I mean it's fun because our office is right downtown Soho,
Oh,
in like the
nice. Cool.
shopping district. And so I get to get that all out of my system during those offsites.
There's a co-working space that is in Soho that I like. It's called The Farm.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
right in downtown Soho. Last time I was in New York on client visits a few weeks ago, we were actually staying in Soho. It was
Oh, wow.
I just missed you, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
it was during like the blizzard, like the all of the
Oh,
snow.
yeah. Yeah.
And it was wild because like it was weird. There was actually a curfew uh in the city. You weren't
Really?
allowed to be on the roads at night unless you were an emergency worker. And yeah, so anyways, it was just
Yeah.
interesting because the city was like dead. And then the next day there was so much snow on the ground that I was walking through Soho and it sort of felt like a ghost town. Because like there
Yeah.
was some people walking around, and then it's kind of weird. Like when it snows, people are just like, I'm just gonna walk on the street because you can't see it. I guess it doesn't. So like everybody's just like walking in the middle of the street, who's
Oh
out,
my gosh.
and like trees had fallen on like cars and stuff like that. Let me see if I can
Holy
find a
cow.
picture. But yeah, it was kind of wild. It was a really unique experience in New York. I hadn't experienced anything like it.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was like right in Soho.
I was like, I think I saw like a lot of that on social media of like the snow, and I'm like, everyone was like, where do you put the snow? Like in the city?
Yeah,
Really?
it's
Do
just
you just
there,
wait till
really.
it melts or yeah?
I think so. Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do
Like,
about it.
can you shovel it into the harbor? Like, yeah. How does that work?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like trying to look for this like one photo of it. I'm not gonna be able to find it. But anyways, yeah, I took a photo because it was just like trees had fallen down like in the streets and stuff. Um,
Jeez.
yeah, yeah, it's cool. I mean, it was that part, it's obviously it's not good, but
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's like a
I see what
different
you're saying.
New
Yeah.
York experience to just see like a
Yeah.
literally a blizzard, right?
I know. And like that doesn't happen very often in New York, I feel like either.
No, no. But
So,
I love getting to New York. It is nice to, I think like the one thing for us being in tech, it does feel nice, at least for me. I like going to New York or even specifically San Francisco because it's just kind of inspiring and fun to be around other ambitious people in
yeah.
tech that are like, you go into a cafe and you hear people talking about startups and tech. And
Yeah.
particularly right now, because San Francisco is sort of making a comeback.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's just nice. Like it's nice to be around that energy. So I usually do
Yeah.
come back from those trips like really excited to get back to it.
Yeah. Especially like like being fully remote, right? Because you almost forget what being in office is like. And so I'm constantly reminded, not only by myself, but by my coworkers, that whenever I come in the office, everyone is less productive because I'm such a social butterfly. And so I'm like, even though it's so fun to just be there and collaborate with people, and there, I mean, while I was there, I was hiring for specific roles with hiring managers that worked out of the New York office. And so it was kind of fun to just get that instant feedback that you don't always get being remote. But then I also realized that I am way more productive at my house because I
Really?
just sit in a room without anyone else around me and just have to, focus on my work. Whereas at an office, I have all these people around me and all I want to do is talk to everyone, like while I'm in the office and socialize. And
Or
so,
maybe if you saw them
um,
every day, you wouldn't want to talk to them so much.
maybe,
You're
yeah, maybe. I
just
don't
like,
know.
oh
I don't
God.
know. Yeah, I don't
That's
know. We have
funny.
a really, really cool team, but
I
I
know.
mean,
That's wrong.
I think it's one of those things though that I just realized I'm like, not everyone is great in an office environment. Like I just, I have times where like I'm in there and I again, like I said, like the collaboration with everyone, but I talk a lot. So I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm like, it's good that I'm probably closed
It
off in my
isolates you.
office in my house. Yeah. But
It's
who
funny.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely different for different people. Like I'm definitely more productive in office.
Yeah.
And then I feel like so much what I do is like collaborating and like thinking. And I'm the type of person where if I'm like thinking, talking with somebody, I'm
Yeah.
like more productive at getting through problems. Even things on like what some people would consider like, oh, that should be independent work. Like if I'm working on it with somebody, it's just I just
Yeah.
think better.
That's
It's
true.
just how my brain kind of works. So most of my team is remote at Secure Visions, which is like my embedded recruiting RPO firm. And
Yeah.
but I have an office in Western Virginia, which is where I'm sitting now, and it's for my go-to-market team. So we're
Okay.
standing up our outbound sales organization for the first time. So it's like we've never done it before. So it's like, okay, we're gonna have everybody in office for that motion specifically.
Yeah.
and then everybody else remote. So it's we just like it's very situational. It's like what works for me, but it's
Yeah.
also like I think we need it based on where we're at for that go to market piece. So
Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, it probably true to a lot of different roles. Like every role is a little bit different and every person is a little bit different. But I
both,
mean,
yeah.
there's some roles at our team that like we're, specifically looking for people in New York or San Francisco to be in those offices to, collaborate with the other team members and then also to like attend events. And so, um, but most of our like employees that are in the offices are still like hybrid, they go in
Yeah.
and out, but and you give them the option. But yeah, I think it definitely just like you mentioned, like different teams, different perspective. It just
Yeah. Kind of like
what they're
stages of
working on.
growth and yeah, like who
Yeah.
like how the leaders think and operate. And yeah, I think a lot of it too is as I'm getting older, I'm realizing it's like it is different for like based on how people are wired. Like
Yeah.
it's about like the
Yeah.
stage of the company. It's about like the, like what needs to be accomplished as a team. And then there is also this dynamic of like how where what types of people are going to thrive in what type of environment. Like as you said, like some
Yeah.
people are way more productive remote. Other people like having a place to be every day at the same time and to like,
Yeah.
put on work clothes and like have to
Yeah.
show up
Yeah.
by a certain time.
Does
That's
anyone in tech do that though?
no, I mean, look at me. Like I swear, I usually dress up for like podcasts, right? Because like our guests
Yeah.
always look so nice, and I'm like, I was so my team was like, you got to like step your game up, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. But today, we talked about this earlier. Today, I looked at my calendar. I was like, oh my God, it's not like a mess for the first time in weeks. I'm gonna have a more chill day. You know what? I'm gonna wear a hoodie. I'm gonna do that. So
Yeah.
today, I was like, just gonna kind of lean into
Most
more of a laid back tech vibe. So.
Yeah. I mean like same thing. I think every day I mean I usually just throw on a sweater and leggings. Like I'm not going all out, but it is interesting to see. I thought it was funny. I saw a comment on LinkedIn not too long ago about how someone should show up to an interview with a tech, like a startup tech company, like or like and they're just saying don't show up in a suit. And I thought that was so funny because I'm like, is that like do people really like think about those things? And especially at a tech company. And yeah, I don't know. I
I
didn't
don't
know
know.
what I thought about that.
I explained
Yeah.
this. So my go-to-market team is pretty young. They're like, well, they're like 22, 23 years old. And so they were asking
Yeah.
me like, my dress code, and they were talking to their parents before they got this is like their first corporate job. And so they're like talking to their parents,
Yeah.
like, you gotta wear a suit, you gotta, no jeans in the office. And my dress code was like, look, just I don't really care what you wear, just look like you care a little bit about your appearance. Just show up looking
Yeah.
like well put together. It can be jeans. I don't really care what it is. Just look like you didn't roll out of bed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess like I don't know whatever I take. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to say. Like I
Yeah.
maybe as a TA
It
HR
sounds like
person,
a
I
good
should know.
policy. Yeah.
Right. I don't know if that's something that you would put in writing, but like it's just like, hey, just look like you care that you're in public.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Right.
that's literally like the where the bar is. Like I know for interviews though, like I think it's okay. Like it probably is a good look to some extent care about what you're it doesn't have to be a suit, but I
Yeah.
don't know if people should lean into the hoodie thing on an interview. I don't know. What do you think?
I think to be honest, at this point, it's like, yeah, I mean, like we are fully remote. So I think a lot of the time I'm not even I don't even know if I noticed that during the interview.
Yeah, it's true.
Like
Yeah.
I'm so focused on the skill set and just
Mhm.
like the culture add and like what, talking through those things. But I guess if it was a more, I don't know. I don't know if I really focus on that too much anymore, like
Yeah.
especially since all of our interviews are over Zoom. You don't really see the full outfit or anything
Oh
anyway,
yeah, you
but
have no idea what's going on.
yeah, and most people, it's very rare that someone would come to an interview like not looking like put together. So yeah, it's not something that's really top of mind, I guess,
No,
most of the time.
it's so we're in the Google building, and I guess big tech has changed because everyone who works for Google in our building is like pretty like, conservative business casual. Like
Yeah,
everybody's got their backpack and they're like they have like a very specific like everybody's like very buttoned up and they have like, nice
yeah,
khakis and all this kind of stuff. And then you have the sixth floor where we are. And it's like we're like in a co-working space and there's some other startups and my GTM team will show up wearing like sweatpants. I'm like, guys, not the whole team. So one of
Yeah.
our sales guys, Matt, he'll just show up wearing like a hoodie and like sweatpants, just looking like so cozy.
Yeah.
He's got this thing. Let me show you this thing. It's like a blanket hoodie that he wears, and he will straight up wear this around the office.
No way. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So we're just, it's funny. It's like definitely
That
much
is
more
really
like a
cool.
tech startup vibe. And, generally the off like most of the office and most of the Googlers or whatever, they're, a little bit more
Yeah.
dressed up than we are, I guess. But
I'm gonna have to get one of those for my house. That
oh,
looks
he loves that
nice.
thing. Yeah, he just wears his hood on, his headphones on, he's just working
Yeah,
away. So
that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. But how often do you go to New York?
It kind of depends. Like, I mean, it hasn't been a whole lot. We used to do 4 offsites a year, and so we'd go quarterly to our New York office, and then our company transitioned to just doing 2 offsites a year, and now they're always like in a different location. But every once in a while, our team will just get together and go out to New York. So, like the end of last quarter, or like yeah, the end of last year, I went out to help with a marketing event, and then I just went last week to be on a podcast. And so I just asked my team if they wanted to come with, and we just planned kind of a little team offsite around it.
That's cool. So is that like
Yeah.
a podcast through your company, or was that
No, it was
something
called
after?
Twill. So it's like
Okay.
yeah, so it's
Oh,
just a podcast where they interview, I think mostly who she's interviewing is talent leaders.
nice. Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Is it public
Yeah.
yet? Or
My podcast?
hmm.
No, 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 not yet. I think we
Oh, okay.
just recorded it on Thursday. So I don't know how
Nice.
long it takes to edit these things. I guess you would know.
For us, yeah, not to, we do very light editing.
Okay.
So it doesn't take us a whole lot of time, but there's also like lead time. They might have different lead times of how many episodes they have like published ahead of when
Yeah.
they release. Like we typically we typically will only have like a few episodes ahead, so we publish pretty quickly. But if they might
Yeah.
have like 10 episodes in the backlog. I guess it just sort of depends on that. But also if it's
Yeah.
in person, they might have like a more robust editing process if they have like multiple cameras and stuff like that. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And she asked me if I wanted to be in person or if we want to do it remotely. And um ultimately I was like, it'd be kind of fun to do that in person in New York because it was like right outside of Times Square and the
nice.
studio that they did it in. And so it's a different experience being in person doing that, but
Yeah.
I thought it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, we're not set up to do in person yet, but I think it would be fun. I do. I mean, again, like there's
Yeah.
something about in person that's just it's nice every once in a while.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Maybe in your future.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
but yeah, hey, I do want to talk like more about like work stuff and get into that, but I guess just to back up a little bit, I am curious to like, learn a little bit more about like, your story. And I know you had told me like one of the most impactful things of like kind of like formative like growing up was uh going to boarding school and like that transition. It sounds like it made a pretty big impact on who you've become. So I wanted to see if
Yeah.
you wanted to share that story with us.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I told you, I was pretty rebellious growing up. I think, when I told you all about like where I grew up was called Mount, and it was like this small suburb outside of Minneapolis. So it was probably like 30 minutes or 40 minutes outside of Minneapolis. And I was there until about fifth grade, and then my parents decided to build a house in one of the towns over. Um, and it's kind of it was like a hard goodbye for me because like I told you, like I grew up in this neighborhood that I just fell in love with. I had friends that knew me since birth. And to move in middle school is just like a really big transition because middle school I think is when we just grow a lot, and there's like that the new milestones that you're reaching. And so when we made that move, it was really hard for me. And I went to this new school and I was there from sixth grade until about junior year. But I think throughout the years, I just was very unhappy being at this new school and this new environment. And it started off because I started getting really bullied because I have a birthmark on my face. And I remember making that move during middle school and just like new kids. And we were kind of in like a more wealthy town. And I remember making that move and just hating it. And I was like, why did we do this? Like, I miss my old friends, I miss my old neighborhood. Um, but my parents just thought it was a better school district overall. And then I just kind of became more and more rebellious over the years. Just I think from being bullied into, just not liking the school and the classes. I was one of those kids, like I told you, like I'm a social butterfly. Like the last thing I wanted to do is sit in class for 50 minutes and listen to like a teacher lecture me. So I ended up just having a hard time with all of it. And then it got to a point where I started hanging out with the wrong crowd. I started skipping school. So I would like sign my mom's signature and just say I had doctor's appointments like every other day. And I started, my grades started slipping. I think it got around sophomore, junior year that I think my parents were like catching on that I wasn't doing well in school because my grades were like C's, D's. And then eventually junior year, it was like, I think D's and F's. Like I was like literally not going to pass junior year.
Mm.
And then my parents found out that I was like forging notes. I think one of my teachers like finally reached out to my parents and they're like, "Hey, is like everything okay with Kenzie? Like we've noticed that there's been quite a few doctor visits and we just want to like check in." And my parents were like, "What?" Like, what do you mean, doctor? And I remember like specifically like sleeping in my car. Like I would bring my comforter with me in my car and just sleep in my car and skip school. Um, and yeah, I just didn't want to go. I
Yeah,
didn't
sure.
like the people. Like I just, for however many years I was just bullied. I mean, kids used to call me face. Like it was just like not a
Mm.
good environment. And being a mom now too, it's just interesting because like I think that parents just forget about some of those things and like especially since my parents had four kids, so it was like how much can you keep track of? And eventually I sat down with my parents and I like told them and I was like, this is just how I'm feeling. And my parents were like, well, you're at a point now that you can either stay here and repeat your junior year, but we think it would be better if you go to one of these boarding schools. And so I did a little research on all these boarding schools and we ended up picking one. And it was more of a religious school. So the religion was called Christian Science. And I didn't really grow up super religious. And so this was all like really brand new to me. My parents both did, but like I think as they grew up and had four kids, it just like, we all played sports, and so we were going to like hockey and basketball and soccer, and so church was kind of hard to attend, with four kids. And then, anyway, long story short, I ended up at this Christian Science boarding school, and it changed my life truly. I think just the environment and everything that like the people and just yeah how I grew from there. I think I graduated there with like a 3.7 and got into every
Wow,
college I applied to. And so,
that's
I mean,
awesome.
yeah, it was a huge turnaround for me.
I think environment is just so important, and there's so many variables. Environment, it could be like for some people's like home environment, for other people it's like the environment of the school. Other people's like
Yeah,
the town I grew up in. For you, it sounds like it was like the school environment, just the culture around the school. Um,
yeah.
makes such a
And,
big
and,
difference, you know?
yeah, and like, I respect my parents so much for just helping me make it to that point where they were like, I mean, sending your kid to boarding school can't be easy. And so
Mm.
I think they just sat down and understood like Orno was not the place for me. And and I went in and out of waves. There was a few years that were good with Orno, which was the school I went to. And then there were waves that it just wasn't good. And then eventually, I think it all just fell apart in the end. And I was like, I need to, yeah. And I also agreed to them. I was like, I think I got to a point where I was like, I need to get out of here. Like, send me anywhere. I'm good to go. Maybe not military school, but like any other boarding school would work. But
It's cool that they like brought you into the process where you were an active participant and finding and picking the school.
yeah,
That's somewhat
yeah,
unusual, I think, like in similar. I just
yeah.
haven't heard it. Maybe it's not actually. I don't know. I guess you would probably know me, but like,
I think
it's pretty cool that you were able to like partake in that process, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my dad was really awesome. He like sat down and I think they originally researched a few schools that were like known to be really good. And then he let me sit there and research it, like all of them, and just choose which one I thought was best for me. Um, the school I actually ended up going to was like I was like fourth generation. So I think I just picked it because I was like my or maybe it was third generation because my grandparents went there, my parents went there, and then I went
That's
there.
cool.
So the school goes from like kindergarten all the way through college.
Mm.
So I mean, yeah, and I
Really
think
college.
my
Wow.
yeah, my grandma I think actually did go there kindergarten all the way through college. So,
Wow.
and then I went there from like junior year of high school all the way through college.
Okay. All the way through. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's where you got your bachelor's.
Yeah. So I
Wow.
went there and I had all these other schools that I applied to colleges, and I actually was admitted into High Point University. Are you familiar with High Point?
It sounds very
It's in
familiar, but I'm not too familiar.
Okay, it's North Carolina. It was the school was amazing. I couldn't even believe when I went there and like toured the campus that it was a college, because it was like they had pools with cabanas, and like in my dorm there was a steakhouse on the top floor and like a
Damn.
arcade in the basement, and I was like,
Wow.
what is this? But I think, at that point, I had grown so much at Principia, where I ended up going to boarding school. Um, I didn't want to lose track of like the progress I made. And so I was like, I got admitted to a school I went to visit, and it was a phenomenal school. But I think at the end of the day, I was like, I've been so successful at Principia. I've like turned my life around. I've been surrounded by these amazing people. Like, I just want to keep going. So I ended up dropping out of that other school before even anything started. Like I remember I had my roommate and everything, and then um last minute I switched and decided to go to the college and stayed there through all 4 years and played soccer, and yeah, made it out.
Awesome. Well, that shows like a
Yeah,
lot of practical wisdom for somebody that young to know what environment is going to help you stay on track and thrive.
yeah,
Like a lot of kids that age probably wouldn't have known how to make that type of decision at that point in their life. So that's pretty cool that
yeah.
you're able to do that.
I think luckily I went through what happened at my high school, and went through that experience, that I think I already learned my lesson. I was like, okay, I need to stay in
Yeah.
a good environment and keep going forward. And I just had made so many great friends, great connections. It was just, I mean, even the teachers, like I remember the classes were smaller, it was like 12 kids in my class. Or like in each individual class, there was maybe like 60 kids in my class at a whole, whereas at my public school it was about 200 kids, and the classes were bigger. And I just remember the teachers caring so much more. Like they would sit with me during the class if I didn't understand something, or have me like stay after school and work with them on it. And it wasn't in like a aggressive way. It was just like, hey, you have a lot of potential, like let's figure out like why you aren't understanding this, and walking me through it. And um it was awesome, just having to be able to have more of like that one-on-one time with your teacher.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. I had different experiences, but like similar in that like I definitely wasn't thriving in middle school and high school like before I needed to get out too. A lot of people don't know this. I guess they will now, but I almost failed out of high school. I passed high school by like literally like it came down to like one test in chemistry class. It was it was like
Oh
all
my
hinging
gosh.
on like so I mean my it's funny in hindsight. Um but no, I my senior year in high school I couldn't wait to get out. Like so I decided to do dual enrollment and I did my senior year at the community college because I was just so ready to get out. Um,
Yeah.
and then it's like things really started like I think it's like environment, right? And so
Yeah.
I moved out like on my own and I did the dual enrollment. I was out of high school, I was out of the house, and that's like something turned on. I started doing like internships, Capitol Hill, like the White House, working around the clock, like really starting to make something of myself. And out of nowhere, like unlocked my ability to make great grades, like straight A's in school, and like my ambition just like arrived out of nowhere. It was like, well, shoot,
Yeah.
I guess here the whole time it just wasn't. I guess maybe I just needed that experience of
Yeah.
or that different setting to unlock it, right? And
Yeah.
it's really wild to look back and I was like, wow, like it all just happened at once. It wasn't like this
Yeah.
gradual shift. It was like shifted the environment and it significantly impacted like the results I was getting in different areas of my life.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
I,
kind of fascinating to reflect back on those types of things, right? Um,
yeah. I mean, parts of it like just shapes like, I mean, where you are now, obviously. So it's very interesting how like just those little like what now feels like little moments in time have actually made a huge impact on your life.
yeah, yeah, for
So,
sure. It's
yeah.
anyway, so I can relate to some of that.
Yeah.
And it's just it's interesting. It's like I think it's kind of like in hindsight, it's also those types of experiences are really beneficial because you do
Yeah.
start to realize the impact of like your kind of environment and your approach and just general concepts. It's like in the formative years of like, okay, knowing the outcome you want to produce and like the approach isn't working, like we'll switch. Like let's keep changing and trying different things until we kind of find a way to get where we need to be, right? Um,
Yeah.
so it's like a good time like in life to be able to it's like the silver lining aspect of like just like looking at it through the lens of like, hey, like this is going to teach us resilience and it's going to teach us like how to change our approach and stay creative until we get like to where we need to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So well, hey, so fast forward. Let's fast forward to like where we are now. Now you've been in recruiting for, you've been at a recruiter at Twilio. You're currently leading recruiting over at Assembly AI. I'm curious to get a sense for like just talking more about talent acquisition. What's some of the top like takeaways you have for recruiters and talent leaders out there, like what do you feel like is most important to be successful in recruiting based on where you are in your career right now?
Yeah. I love that question. I actually started off my like after I graduated college, I actually started in sales and I thought that I was going to be like a salesperson. My dad was an entrepreneur, my uncle's an entrepreneur, my grandpa was basically an entrepreneur. And they all own their own businesses. I guess my grandpa was actually the CEO of Jostens. Are you familiar with Jostens at all?
No,
Okay,
it's
like the
got
class rings and like
I'm gonna check them
they
out.
made like I think they even make like the NFL rings. And I don't know, I think they also do yearbooks. Like they were really big back when my
Oh,
grandpa was the
cool.
CEO.
Yeah, they
Um,
designed 38 out of 58 NFL like Super Bowl rings.
yeah, yeah. So,
That's
but he
pretty
was the
cool.
CEO of Jostens back. But anyway, I started like my whole career out in sales, and then decided that sales wasn't really for me. I was actually when my uncle owns a bunch of shoe stores, and so back when I was working there was New Balance, so he owned like 15 New Balance stores across the country. So I helped to manage one of his New Balance stores in Huntsville, Alabama. So I literally like graduated and moved to Alabama, and was working retail, like on the floor selling shoes. I actually didn't mind that job. It was pretty fun. I think what I learned about myself over time, though, like I went from there to selling airspace on the radio to going into nursing, and I thought I was going to get my nursing degree. Which I don't know why I decided to go back to school after learning that I'm not like school isn't like my most favorite thing in the world. Um, but I tried and that didn't work out. But what I learned after all of that is just I really love communicating with people and I love helping people. And at the end of the day, I like landed across a recruiting agency, and that's actually where I got started in recruiting, was working with this recruiting agency. And um recruiting being at a recruiting agency is like so different than being an internal recruiter. Like just the
Yeah.
whole like environment and just what the goals are and everything like that. But what I've learned through all of it is just I have done my best being at a company that I truly believe in, and like really understanding the product. So like I just have grown to love my company so much and just what we're building. And I think that passion just shows in a lot of like my conversations that I have. Um, and I don't know if I ever really took the time in the past to really understand the companies I was working at. A lot of the time I was like, this is just a job. I need to hit my goals, my metrics. And, I wasn't really taking the time to learn the teams and learn the product and really dig into like why are we building this and what is it solving? And I think, over the years, I realized like that's really the answer to, everything. So I think almost in every role, but especially recruiting. I wrote a LinkedIn post the other day that has gotten a lot of traction just saying that the recruiters at your company should love your company the
Yeah, I
most
saw that. I was just
because
like pulling up some of your posts actually while we're talking, just to like maybe
yeah,
other talking points, stuff like that. But yeah, I thought
yeah.
it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I truly believe that. I just think, I mean, as a recruiter, their very first conversation most of the time with your candidates, right? So it's like if they don't see the excitement in your voice, like how, why would they continue through the
Yeah,
process? Like if you get on the phone and you're like, yeah, my company's good, like, I enjoy it here, but if they actually can like see the passion and you have the knowledge to like talk through it, then that conversation goes a whole different direction. So I mean, that's my biggest advice to anyone. I mean, make sure if you're at a company and let's say you don't love your company, find something that you do love about it. Whether it's like something about the product, what it's doing, what it,
yeah,
how it's creating value for the customers. Like, I mean, I even tell that to candidates. Like every candidate I ask, like, why Assembly AI? Like, why do you want to work here at this company? What about our product stuck out to you? Um, and I think that the answer that they give me like tells me a lot too of like, what is it? Yeah,
yeah,
that like why should what's gonna get if you got the job here, like why would you continue to work hard for this company? Like, are you enjoying what you're building? Are you like are you passionate about what you're building? Like, do you like seeing how the customers are gaining success from this product? But I think those conversations really matter.
yeah. I think so. I think one way I like to think about like passion or like really enjoying where you work or elements of where you work is as I've gotten older, I've realized like willpower is not enough. Like in
Yeah,
terms of uh, I consider myself a very hard worker. Uh,
yeah.
Willpower is just it's not enough. You could be the most disciplined person in the world. You have to love something about what you do because you have to be able to push through and you have to be able to kind of stay focused and engaged. Like that's when we do our
Yeah,
best work. I truly believe that like for instance, like the concepts of like burnout, I don't think actually burnout is caused from hours in. It certainly can be caused by lack of sleep, I suppose, but um I really think that it's like kind of like more so about our emotional state and how like in tune
yeah,
we are with like our work or our relationships, like are there any kind of like conflicts we're dealing with emotionally, like that kind of stuff is really what leads to burnout. Like if you're operating from sheer
yeah,
willpower, that's going to lead to burnout. Like if there's something going on in your personal life where it's like emotionally stressful, that could lead to burnout. But like if we're kind of engaged and we're not like in this like internal civil war where we want competing things or there's not bunch of like emotional gas leaks, I
yeah,
think it's like, and so anyways, like one kind of like all over the place, but like the main thing is like I do think it's like having some level of passion for what you do or some element like I don't think anybody has a job where they love everything about it. Like
yeah, yeah.
it's
Of
not,
course
I
not.
mean,
Yeah,
I know I've never, I mean, but you got to be like right, like there should be some level of passion. I agree. Like I think that's a good question to ask candidates. Like why,
yeah.
what about this really excites you, right?
Well, and one thing that I'll say that I've seen, and obviously it's so different, where I'm at, and we're a startup. We've got 75 employees. We're a very dense team. And so a lot of these things do really matter when you're building that foundation. But I think about other companies and previous companies that I worked at that the recruiters are so far away from leadership, like the CEOs and the executives that I'm like, I almost wonder if that's the right way to do it. Like your front line of defense is so far away from, your leadership team. And then there's all these, you're playing the telephone game of trying to like get down to the recruiters to like what they should be presenting in that first call. But I think it's really important that, you have like I talk with my CEO like almost every day, and I understand his perspective on like what we should be hiring for and I think he respects that. I think he knows that I'm very passionate about what we're building and who we're bringing onto our company and I love that there's no one in between that, like I can talk directly with him. And I think a lot of companies get to this point where they're so big that you start missing that. And it was funny, I was talking to my sister like not too long ago, and she was telling me that she talked to a recruiter and she's like, I honestly don't think the recruiter even likes working there. And I'm like, that's not like good,
Yeah.
and some recruiters are just asking the question, like they're just reading down the script every once in a while, like you'll say something that they want to talk about and talk through or dig deeper into, but they're just monotone and going through because they're on screens back to back all day. So it's like, do you minimize like for me, I'm like I max out at six because I know after six screens a day, I start losing, that energy and that excitement. So like I know my limit and I make sure that that's where I end. But it's like, some of these companies are like, hey, like let's be on 20 calls a day, which is great. I mean, you're grinding, but then also like what are your recruiters then representing, towards that 10th call of the day? Like, are they still, excited to talk to people? Or are they still, creating that energy? And I don't know. I guess it depends like company by company and recruiter by recruiter. But I just think it's really important that, you're taking those things into consideration.
Yeah, it's like you can never lose sight of the relationship element. And I think there's a lot of things we can optimize in business, but we have to be
Hmm.
careful with the concept of like optimizing relationships, right? And so like that, like when it comes down to the number of screens, like I of course like metrics are important and like okay, if it's more screens, it's more screens. I'm not gonna like, every environment's different. Like it's a very situational.
Yeah.
Like my takeaway from what you're saying is like yeah, we just have to be careful about optimize. It's optimizing. You can't optimize a relationship like you would optimize an ATS or like your tech stack, right?
Yeah.
There's just some things that is like they need to take longer. Some calls we need to have more time to, like if we need to continue calls or schedule more time later in the day, or like
Yeah.
we're in a human business and we can't you can't just like overly optimize like your relationship with people. Like
Yeah.
it's not software, right? Like
Yeah. And
so
I honestly feel like the most important metric is quality of hire at the end of the day, right? Like how many people are coming into your company and like staying with your company? Like what's their like how many people that you have a certain amount of tenure? Like and it's really important to keep track of that too for yourself. Like as a recruiter, who you bring out in a company, how are they performing? And then um how long are they staying with your company?
yeah.
And thinking through those things. And I think that the way that we're talking with candidates now and some of our steps that we've involved in our interview process, like we do want people that are passionate about what we're building because I think at the end of the day, if you're really passionate about the space, then like the company, comes easily. It's just like you have fun with it. And it's funny because I took that all the way back from like my uncle who when I was selling shoes, he was like, if you have a good product, it sells itself, right? Like, you just have to find the people that are interested in that product.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's such a simple thing, but it just makes sense. And almost every company that I'm at now, I'm like, well, yeah, like if you have a really good running shoe, you just got to find runners
Yeah, you
that,
just gotta it's
want to wear
distribution.
the
It's
shoe.
getting in
Yeah,
front of
that's
people,
it.
Like
Yeah,
becomes more about like awareness and relations, just opening doors so that more people can get exposure to it. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think the other so there's like I like that genuine passion. I definitely look for that. Like I also look at it in like energy levels, I think.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's makes sense for everybody in every company, but I like to see that level of engagement like
Yeah.
in the conversation. And I actually just did a post today on curious to get your thoughts. So we're hiring at Secure Vision, my company, and like the older I get, the more experience I get, the more I obsess over behavioral traits. Like there,
Yeah.
I just do not compromise. Like like if they don't have this makeup, then we just don't move forward. I don't care what their skill set is, or even like how good the references are. Like, and let me just share this list with you. I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Too. And so like a lot of my questions are based around this. Um, and the other pieces I ask questions about like business and strategic acumen, like do they actually understand how their role impacts the company North Star? Like, do they have that awareness? Um, but yeah, I dropped the list on the side. So I spend most of my time trying to uncover like, are they fast, proactive, responsive, highly organized? 100% say-do ratio is huge for me. It's like if you say you're gonna do it, you do it. Um, expectation setting, hitting deadlines, call it how it is. like all of this stuff. And for people listening, like you can just go on my LinkedIn profile. It's the post I did on Thursday, March 19th. So you
Mhm.
can see it there. But like this is another big thing that I really dial in on when I'm hiring people. Like, do I feel like they have these like kind of behavioral characteristics and do they operate this way, essentially?
I- Yeah, and I'm curious in your interview process, how are you asking these questions? Like, are they like multi-layer questions that you're digging into like projects they've done and what that represented at the end of the day, or are you like
Yeah.
being straightforward and asking these things? The one thing that I feel like it's really hard during an interview process is there are some people out there that are just really good at interviewing and like
Yeah.
answering these questions to what you want to hear. So it's how do you get around that and how do you ask the behavioral questions to like almost see the like the back end of their personality,
Yeah,
because
for
then you
sure.
can like flag some of those things. So I'm curious, yeah, like how are you asking these
Yeah,
questions?
I ask like 4 or 5 questions on every interview, and then I decide if I'm gonna hire based on that. Like now, keep in mind that
Yeah,
it's like at the end of like I get the final round. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
but there's a handful of questions that I ask. So um, the first one is and this throws people off. Not like necessarily. I'm not trying to like, but it does make them think.
yeah.
And so I'll ask them like, hey, like if you were depending on their role, I'll be like, hey, if you were made turn in like if you were promoted to CEO of your company tomorrow, or you promoted VP of talent acquisition, or like you can adjust, but like tell me your strategy. What would you double down on? What would you change? How would you approach? Like what do you think you could do better? Like how would you
Hmm.
approach running the department or the company? Because I want to understand like how they think and their level of like
Yeah.
awareness of how their role interacts and collaborates with other parts of the team. And so that gives me like just like I want to understand like their thought process and problem solving because like we all rely on each other and we all like at my company have to look to our left and our right and know that like people have our back and that we're all kind of like feeding into the same mission and same North Star and we understand
Hmm.
like the way that I think about it is like literally look, we had different job title, like we have different responsibilities, but we all have one job. And that's
Yeah.
to drive retention and growth of customer accounts. Like straight up,
Yeah.
right? It's like customer experience, retention, growth. We are all here to do that. We have
Yeah.
different points of impact, but I want to make sure like are they commercially minded enough and like aware of that kind of like motion. So I ask that
Hmm.
question a lot, which really gets at me like understanding their kind of problem solving and how they approach things. Um,
Yeah.
so that's a big one I ask, which is
Yeah.
different.
That's
They
a really
usually
good
haven't
one.
gotten that one before, which is also helpful, I think. Asking questions
Yeah.
where people haven't gotten them a million times gets you out of the trap of like hearing the canned
Yeah.
responses, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really love that. It kind of, and then I listened to a podcast not too long ago, and I actually shared this in another podcast I was in from one of the co-founders of Anthropic. And she asked very similar like behavioral questions. Like one of them was along the lines of, um, what do you look like on your best day? Like if you were to come to work on your absolute best day, like tell me like what I'm going to get from you. And the other one was like the opposite, right? Like
Your
tell me
worst day.
what, yeah, tell me what your worst day looks like. And I actually thought that was like fascinating because for her it's all about transparency. Like I want to know who I'm bringing on to my company and what I'm going to get on their worst day. What's that going to look like? And but I think asking those more behavioral questions is like very smart. And I know that our team does a lot of that as well. And I know our CEO definitely incorporates that. I think one thing that I really enjoy learning about is like a question along the lines of, tell me a time that you've really gone out of your way for your team or your company. Like you went the extra mile, like you didn't do something inside of your job scope, like you went outside of your job scope to do something for your company,
Yeah.
because that's something that we really look for at our company, right? Like I mean, there's times that I go help out with my marketing team. I'm basically like I'm in talent, but I'm also doing people operations. Like we want to look for people that are willing to go outside of just
Yeah.
their day to day and do, like they see something that needs to happen. And even though that's maybe not within their job scope, they're doing it. So that's like kind of one of our behavioral questions that I like to
Yeah.
ask because yeah, just want to see like how are they going the extra mile for their team or how are they going the extra mile for their company,
Right. Because that's
really.
like that's kind of going along the lines of like we all are here to do one job, right? And that's to grow the business. And like
Yeah.
people that don't see their job in terms of a JD, but in terms of impact, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like I'll do whatever it needs, like we need to do. Like I know my core responsibility, like what I have to do, but like I'm here to make impacts. Like I'm here to grow this business, right?
Yeah.
Like and like those types of people, those are the people where it's like there's 7, 8 figure returns on like
Yeah,
their work.
exactly.
And if you stack enough of those
Yeah.
up, like yeah, like that's really
We
what.
we actually have and with few people at our company that just were doing that, and we realized like these are the top performers at our company. So
Yeah,
then we thought through that and we're like, well, how do we bring that back into like our interview process to like find people that have this like mindset? And I mean, we have a a guy at our company that started as a support engineer, and he's now helping like leading building out like our speech to speech model. So he basically started as like a support engineer and now is like on our research team, like research engineering team, like helping to build out a speech to speech model. He's like, I don't even know how old he is, but it's just it's amazing because that all started because he was curious. He like was so curious about learning more about our product, learning more about like what we were building, our customer base, and just like drove that. And it just like was, I mean, I think we had like a internal hackathon that we did, and everyone was on a team, building out our hackathon. And this guy was on 5 teams. Like he just reached out to 5 of the teams and was like, can I be on your team too? And we're like, and then all of a sudden we're all presenting our hackathon, like our projects, and his face kept popping up on every team, and we're like, what?
what is this
Like,
guy
how did, I
doing?
mean, yeah, but like it was amazing,
That's
like just
awesome.
to have
Yeah.
that mindset. Like, I just want to learn. I want to learn. And so, how can you, find the like that personality, like those traits from someone, and like how can you ask those questions in
Yeah.
an interview process to find that?
It's funny. It's like as we're talking about this is like the really first time, frankly, I've like crystallized my thinking around it. I think like for particularly behavioral questions, it's like asking questions that they haven't heard before because it's like that's what
Yeah,
makes like them go from automated response into critical thinking.
yeah,
Um, another one that I asked that I like, I guess like again, like this is kind of cool because it's helping me think through like how I what I really think, like as we're talking about
yeah,
this, but like I look for people that know the difference between scoring goals and winning games. Like
hmm,
to me, that's critical. So like what I mean by that is like one of my questions is okay, so like we have a wonderful onboarding process for our new customers when we do embedded recruiting. Like we have the process ironed out step by step and for new hires to make sure that they're successful. I said, but hypothetically, imagine we had zero onboarding and we were just assigned to an account without any guidance from us. What would you do? Like, how would you make it successful? And I look at like in terms of the response, is it all very tactically driven on like metrics and which are important, but like, or are they aligned with business outcomes and working backward from there to how they approach their metrics and driving success? And
yeah,
so if like they don't talk about like opening up opportunities, identifying threats, understanding the company's North Star, like in their own words, like it's not all the same, or are they just focused on like X amount of submittals, scheduling a call, like just talking about like basic like alignment stuff. Like I kind of like the analogy I give to my team is like, look, like helping our customers hire is like scoring goals. Retaining and growing the
yeah,
account, that's winning games. You could score hypothetically, you could score 100 goals and still lose the game, right?
yeah,
Like it's so
yeah,
it's like I think that and there's I think that translates to like basically every position. Like there's you have to score goals to win games, but there's still a difference. And does the person understand the difference and kind of understand the bigger picture behind like what their role is there to do?
yeah.
Um, so that's
I
like
really
another
like
big
that.
thing. I kind
Yeah,
of like I try to
yeah.
judge, and there's a lot of behavioral stuff that pops up in terms of how they'd approach stuff there too. So that's another
Yeah.
one of like my very few interview questions that I ask.
I think it's funny because it makes me think like one of our values is be deeply curious, right? And I think if you ask enough questions, you're going to find the answer. And that's kind of, along the same lines of like what you're looking for. If you jump into a role and you don't have much guidance or resources or like mentorship, and honestly, that happens a lot at startups, right? Like especially if you get in early, you just have to ask questions, and you have to like create relationships and understand the business. And so yeah, I mean, I love that because I think it's just, again, behavioral, trying to figure out like what steps are you going to take and how are you going to find the answer to make sure that your role or your company is successful. And a lot of that is through like navigating through, and that's what I really enjoyed about this person we hired in the support engineer is like he just asked a ton of questions. Like he
Yeah,
just dug in everywhere around the entire business and then he just figured
proactive
it
and
all out
curious. Yeah,
because he learned and he dug and that's something that I like love about that value of being like deeply curious because if you if you ask enough questions, you're going to find the answer,
yeah.
eventually.
I should
Um,
probably put deeply curious like in this list of mine. I have
yeah,
engaged, which I think is likely, but yeah, I think like deeply curious. Ask for clarification. Yeah, I'm just constantly refining this, so I'm gonna update it. I'm gonna add. I think
yeah,
curious needs to
I
be.
like it.
That's yeah, like you have to be intellectually curious and like engaged, and like you should be asking a lot of. I so a big I a lot of my decision is based on the quality of their questions too.
Yeah,
I will not hire
yes,
somebody who doesn't ask me good questions. Like if they just show up and they're
yeah.
like, "Hey, what's your PTO policy?" Which is like fine, ask me. I will tell you. And I'm not, that's not me like, that's not me saying I don't want people taking, by the way, that's not me saying I want people taking PTO. I'm just saying like you have an opportunity to talk to me and understand our business strategy and what we're here to do. Like show
Yeah,
up, like ask me good questions, ask me smart questions.
yeah,
And then have follow-up questions. Like let's have a real conversation, right? Like a back
yeah,
and forth. Like that's, I usually
uh,
leave like 15, 20 minutes to field their questions
yeah. That's
to see where
awesome.
that conversation goes. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because like I think even though I feel less intelligent when this happens, but like I think my favorite times are is when Canada starts asking me questions that I don't know how to answer. Like I'm like,
yeah, you're like,
you're
damn, that's a good
and it
one. Like, yeah,
yeah, a lot of times it's like they'll just get really technical with me and even though I'm hiring for these technical roles, like I don't know everything down like to the T, but it's I love when they like have enough interest to like start digging into those questions with me. And a lot of times I'm like, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Like I'll have to ask the hiring manager. But it's yeah, I agree with that. I think when someone comes, because a lot of times you do get those genetic like, well, can you tell me what the rest of the interview process looks like, or can you tell me about your company culture and to be honest, like those ones I think make a lot of sense, especially at a
yeah.
startup. Like if I were interviewing at another startup, like I would want to understand their culture. Like
Oh, 100%.
people can say all they want on their websites, but it's like how true are they to the culture that they're representing? And a lot of time you'll see that too throughout the interview process with the people that you meet. Um, but yeah, I like those questions that almost make you have to think
Well,
because you're
yeah, yeah.
like,
Like an example
yeah,
would be like, so I interview recruiters all the time because that's like the like lifeblood of our business is to hire great recruiters. And
yeah,
so if they'll ask me like, hey, talk to like if they get in, it's like, okay, ask me about culture. Ask me about whatever you need to. Like, let's do, we can do all this stuff to button it up to make sure you have a good understanding. But then it's like, ask me about like sometimes every once in a while I'll get somebody who asks about like our growth strategy or like what we want to accomplish over the next year, like what I'm
yeah,
focused on and what I need to like accomplish. And so then I'll talk about how we're building out our go-to-market team for the first time and like we're getting traction, but it's challenging. And then it's like,
yeah,
what do they do next? Right. And it's like, but like, so what seems to be working? What are the challenges? What's not working? Why do you think it's not? And like they're doing that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is like we're hiring this person because they get it. Like they
yeah,
immediately go into like problem solving mode and like we're already working together essentially. And like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like not necessarily like solution, like doing solutions, but it's like they're curious, like they're trying to figure out like how the machine is working, what's not working. They're kind of analyzing,
yeah.
thinking. You can kind of see that they're just like, okay, yeah, that kind of stuff. I love
Or
it,
when they, yeah, like just made me think of when they come to the conversation and they ask me about like our competitors and like what's your plan to like beat these competitors in your field? Like for us, it would be like Deep Gram. And if they've done that research and they're like looking into like who our competitors are and what how we think we're gonna outperform them or how we're gonna win this race, like I love those questions too. It's just like, okay, you came, you did your research and I remember like I still ask this every once in a while. It kind of depends on who I'm talking to. Like, tell me like if tell me like what you know about our product. And it actually blows my mind how many people will come to an interview and be like, honestly, I didn't really do that much research on it. And
It
I,
takes like 5 minutes. It doesn't even take that much
yeah,
time. Like, and you have
yeah.
chat now. Like, what just what is
Yeah,
like?
so I don't
Yeah,
know, Claude,
yeah,
Gemini,
whatever.
ChatGPT,
Yeah,
like you Perplexity, like whatever,
right.
like use
Just
whatever tool. But and we say that too. Like I tell everyone, like we don't care if you use AI to prep for your interviews. Just like we,
yeah,
we try to refrain from them using AI in the interview. But like I think yeah, like I love when people come and have done the research like thoroughly. And there's some people that come and even like start talking through my our models with me, and I'm like, you know more than I do, I think, on some of this stuff. And like you get so technical, but like I love that and like asking
yeah,
questions around it because again, that goes back to kind of showing like their passion and like that they're already finding things that that are interesting to them about like our product and what we're building to like ask questions about it. So no, I agree with you. I think bringing good questions to the interview is very important. And um, I don't know if I would say that I like just skip over anyone that does like ask me because like especially if we're reaching out to candidates like from like an outsourcing
sure.
perspective, we're trying to win them over
Right, right.
and sometimes like since I'm the beginning of the process, I think it's a lot different if you're at
Yeah,
the end of the process. Sometimes they'll be like, well, I have questions, but I think they're like, I think I would probably want to talk with the hiring manager about these. And
yeah.
so, and I
It's
respect
dependent
that.
on yeah,
Yeah.
like where you are in
Yeah.
the process for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, like those questions always like make me smile because I'm like, and it also brings me like I'm like I need to go back and like make
Right.
sure I'm on top of these things because sometimes people bring me things and I'm like I should know this like and why do I not know this and I'm
Yeah,
almost embarrassed that I don't know this and so then I go back and I make sure next time anyone asks me that question I know everything about it like
yeah.
so I love those situations.
I know. I love it too. Oh, that's awesome. Well, we covered a lot of ground there. We got
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to keep riffing on this, but I do want to. There's some other stuff that I'd love to cover with you. Um, I'd love to get a sense for like when you think about your own professional development over the next several years. Like, can you tell us a little bit about who you want to become professionally, what skills you want to continue to work on, like how you want to continue to evolve as a talent leader?
Yeah. It's so funny because like when we were just talking about college and just getting through school, I was thinking back to the fact that I was like, I had no idea what I wanted to do in college. And I don't know if you've ever met those people that like wanted to be a doctor when they were like 2 years old and became a doctor. I'm like, how do people know that? And just like, or did they just like convince themselves so hard that that's what they wanted to do? Because it took me quite a long time to like find recruiting and like get into this field. And I talk with my the people who I report into with about this all the time about like my growth and I think over the past, even just like the past 4 years of being at Assembly AI, I've had the most growth I've had in my total career. Um, a lot of it came from the things that we talked about. And, I think eventually I would love to be, seen as a leader at a company and like overseeing all of talent and like building it out. And something I've really enjoyed about what I've done here is like I have had a big contribution to like building out everything from scratch. I came in here and there was like 30 employees, and so how much that's changed from 4 years ago to like where it is now. But how much you learn along the way and how you're able to apply that again would be very interesting, or even just as you keep growing. Um, you know, I I love my company and I think I've had such a great opportunity of like learning and especially like AI is it's such a new space. Like a lot of the things that we're learning, we're kind of learning on the go. But ultimately, yeah, I mean, like if I were to become VP of talent or, like oversee everything, which, right now I'm heading a lot of like the talent aspects, but I don't know. I think the next 5 years, like I just want to keep growing, learning from others. I'm the type of personality like I want to be the first to do things, and I think about that a lot. And I think sometimes I get hesitant because I'm like, I think back to like the very first maybe like AI started, or even like OpenAI, or even like Google or Amazon. It's like, what did they do first to like and like how did they come up with the idea to do it to be like so successful? And like how can you do that like in talent? So like right now we're seeing this big shift of like the market, and there's like certain things where I'm like, can we change our hiring process and like just make it really unique that we really stand out? And like just it's a small part of our business, but could it really like change how Assembly AI is represented in the field? Like, and have people talk about it. I just interviewed with Assembly AI and they're doing something I've never seen before. Like how can you do that? And I think I want to get to a point in my career in the next couple years of like being that person where people come to me and they're like, you just built out this amazing process that no one's ever done before. Like, what did you do? And I think about that often. And I talk about like my CEO and like I even just right now for outsourcing, I'm like, what can we do that's so different than everyone else that people like are reading our messages and they're like, I want to work there, or like,
Yeah.
is there a different, like, can we build out a tool that like we send to them and, and it's like they click on it and it just becomes this whole experience and they're like, this is amazing. Like, I want to interview with this company just because of like this outsourcing message. And so I don't know. Like I think about this stuff a lot, but I'm like, I haven't come up with a solution. And I think over the next couple of years as I grow and learn and especially implementing AI, I don't know how much you're implementing AI in your day to day right now, but I've been just messing around with like Lovable and Claude, and I built out like this offer experience, just using those tools. And now that we have like as recruiters are hands on these tools, like you don't need to be an engineer to build out your own experience anymore. Like you can use these tools. You might need your engineering team to help you implement it and like push it to production, but like if you have an idea, like you really can run with it now if you have those tools under your belt. So I'm like, yeah, I would love to be an innovative leader. I feel like this is a really long-winded answer to your question, but I would love to be a very innovative leader that has the creativity to do something new and like, I don't know, be that person that people are like, Kenzie did this first and look how big it got.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
what
that's
that is
awesome.
yet, but I think it's gonna happen, as I
Yeah.
keep learning.
Yeah, that's really
But
cool.
I don't know if that was a good answer to your
Yeah, it's a great
question.
question or a great
I was
answer.
thinking about it as I was talking, so I just kind of rambled
Oh, you're
along,
good.
but
You're good. No, that's like again, that's just like kind of a character trait of an intellectually curious person where you just like there's all these different things like you want to,
yeah.
but it was cohesive. Like it all kind of ties into like being creative, problem solving, like thinking of different ways to approach standing out and providing a great experience to like recruit top talent. Like, yeah, I mean that's a lot of what I think about. I think about like the question I'm asking a lot this year is like, how do we appropriately blend like human data and AI? Like
hmm
human from a workforce perspective, it's like what should our recruiters be doing? What kind of data workflows can be automation can we be leveraging? Like how to appropriately incorporate AI into a people business? Like how to like mesh
Yeah.
those things to accelerate, create great experiences, hire the best people. Um, I think like that's sort of the formula like I'm trying to refine. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's it's hard. This is a really different market. And I don't know. I mean, I wasn't around when Google, came out. Well, I was, but I wasn't, in the field. Um, but it's a market where like you really do have to try and stand out. Because there's so many AI startups out there. There's so many just startups right now in the tech space in general. And I was talking with my CEO about this. It's just we're all kind of competing for like the same talent pool in a way. Like we're all
oh,
looking for
sure.
people that have been in this tech space that really understand it, that are passionate about AI, that are, you know, want to be in this field. And it's like, how do you stick out when there's so many? And I mean, your product's one of them, right? Like if, like I said earlier, like if you have a really great product, but we're still growing that audience. And our our product is so skewed to like developers because we're like a voice infrastructure company. So, a lot of our target audience is like very technical, like developers. So I have to try and figure out like how do we implement that though from like a talent perspective, and how do we like show up and be like, we have the coolest product out there, like, and how do we get creative with that? Because the same people are probably getting targeted by Anthropic, OpenAI, 11 Labs, Cohere, like all of these other AI. So like, how do you make yourself stand out? I mean,
Yeah.
even for you and your business, I mean, there's tons of recruiters out there right now. So it's like, what makes you the best and what makes you more creative? What makes you more fun to work with? Like for us right now, like what we talked about is just we're a very dense company. And I think I talked to you about this earlier too, but it's just you like there's 75 people at our company and we're Series C, whereas like, all these other companies are like 10xing headcount. And so it's dramatic. But I mean, Anthropic and OpenAI have, but you at our company, every employee works so closely to the product and to our customers, and I think that's what makes us different than a lot of these other startups. They're just growing so fast, and so and a lot of these people like get to this point where like they want to get back to like working directly with the product and the customers. Like that's the part they enjoy the most. So like, how do we take that message and then apply it and make it creative that it's going to stick out versus every other message. I mean, it's how any recruiter has to think, right? Like you just how is my message going to be the most creative one to stick out? But how can you take that even a step further, like from an entire experience?
Yeah, well, I think one of the like takeaways I'm getting from what you're saying is like it's also really understanding your audience and like getting in the heads of the candidates that you are actually targeting, not just like thinking
Yeah,
top talent, like best practices, like of course that matters, but like specifically the talent you're going after, what other opportunities are they considering? What can you offer that maybe they're missing out on, or like contrast with those other opportunities, and like thinking about the specific profiles. Like it sounds
yeah,
like you take a lot of time to actually kind of really think through their thought process and then position your talent strategy, your approach, like everything based on that, which is like smart. And it
yeah,
is like kind of the layer deeper, right? Um,
yeah. That's like one thing I like talking like with my hiring managers about. I'm like, if you weren't working here and like someone was going to reach out to you from our company, like what would you want to hear like on your team? Because every team is a little different too, right? And like what people are going to be working on, like what as an engineer, like right now, let's say, we have like a senior software engineer in machine learning. And like what specifically about your role like would excite you if like you weren't working here at this company? Like what would you want to hear? And like having those conversations and really like picking those things out. And then a lot of it's just trial and error too. Like you'll start sending out this messages, okay, like this one's getting traction, this one's not. Like, how do we refine it? Like, let's go back and talk more about it. But, I'll talk to my hiring manager about it. I'll talk to my CEO about it. Even sometimes like right now, we're having our CEO send out messages directly because we're like, well, for these type of candidates, I think our CEO would make a bigger impact. And sometimes and like even like our VP of success and support will directly reach out to people. I mean, he's in sales, so he's the
yeah.
best person to sell his role. And so it's just getting creative and strategic and being like how can we win these candidates with like such a competitive market.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think the executive outreach is definitely
Oh
important.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's that's big. We do that
Yeah.
too. Like I do help recruit. And I guess a secret between the two of us, sometimes when my top sourcer is sourcing, she'll use my profile for for certain
Yeah.
roles.
Yeah.
Like, uh,
Yeah. And you
you
can
know,
do that. I think in tools like we can link directly to our CEO's account and I think
yeah,
on like Gem or something. But
yeah, like
he
on
really
email
likes
outreach.
he likes
Yeah,
to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I think it is really important because especially for like your more senior level roles, it just the fact that the CEO went out of their way to send you a message, I think that already like I'd be more interested in taking that call, and he even says like I'll take the first call and talk with them and then if it all works out, like then they'll come to me.
And sometimes like the word tracker, how like the CEO will think about things just a little different. Like one of the people I hired for the GTM team, I actually did all the hands-on recruiting myself, like all of it.
Yeah.
I did like outbound like myself, like did the
Yeah.
outbound on LinkedIn. We also used a handshake because it's like younger talent, so it's like the one that people apply like through the colleges and stuff. But there was one of the people I hired, same one who has that big massive like blanket hoodie thing.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
he had just started like another sales job, and like in his summary, it was talking about like he was really into like wanted to get into tech sales, but then he was working at like a company that was selling like something like way different, right? Something way different. And so I reached out to him like, hey, like, so you're interested in like tech sales? Like, this is what I'm doing over here. I have Secure Vision. I also just started a software company. There's like AI for interviewing and sourcing, and this could be something that's really interesting. And
Yeah.
then he followed up saying, well, I just started another job, but let's keep in touch. I'm like, and so I followed up with it. And this is maybe where it's like a little different. It's like, oh, like, look, I hear you. And also, like, look, this could be your shot to get into tech recruiting. If this is really what you want to do, we should talk. And,
Yeah.
it's just like very kind of like, again, it's just like it's not, there's no template there. It's just like it's just different. I think me as like a founder and like talking about like, look, like, I read your profile. I think it's like just based on what you're saying, it's like, are you really doing what you really think you want to? Like,
That's
let's talk.
awesome. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sure enough, like we do two interviews, and I think I hired him on the spot in the final round. I was so impressed. I think I hired him while he was in the office.
Wow. Really
Uh,
cool.
but yeah, I think like some of that is like true. It's like when there's like really important hires to make, like yeah, like talent's like really, it is truly the most important part.
Yeah.
It's the biggest investment companies will make too. Like think about payrolls, like the biggest annual investment every company makes. Like it should be a top priority for everybody, you know?
It always is like, and I don't know what every company, there's a few companies I was at where, as a recruiter, I just felt like you're the bottom of the food chain type of situation. And I mean, I'm so lucky I land on Assembly AI and how they treat me, but any company that does look at their recruiters that way is doing it wrong. I mean, like your recruiters are literally the ones finding profiles to pass to you. And so it's like you have to like they are the ones making the ultimate decision of like who's getting hired. And you get a
Yeah.
selection pool of like who you're gonna hire, but they all come from your recruiter. So like if your recruiter wasn't there to like send you these people, it's amazing to me because it's just like they really do have a huge impact on like how you're growing your company because they're choosing those initial profiles to send through the pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I think about it, and it's like, in my perspective has evolved as I've gotten older and like more experience, but like it's like recruiters, like they're like your investment manager. They're managing the largest investment you will ever make. Like all your VC
Yeah.
money, all your ARR, like all of it, like most of it is going toward payroll. This is like a like 8-figure investment that
Yeah.
your company is making on an annual basis. Like you got to have the right person in that seat. Like you need and they need the right resources. Like this is like a massive investment that you're
Yeah.
making. Like you're making an 8-figure investment, and like you need the right qualified person running it. You need to make it a priority. I mean, like if it's the biggest investment, like it should have like you should, I mean, it should be like a pretty buttoned up process and approach and strategic point of impact within the business. And I
And
guess
it
we're sort of biased, I suppose, but like to me, it's like just
yeah.
like look at just pure dollars. Look at a P&L. Like it's literally the biggest investment companies are making. Like we need to
Yeah.
get it right. Like
And it kind of just goes back to like what I was saying earlier is just also, I mean, understanding your business, and if you have a bigger business that has like a bunch of like levels before getting between like you and the recruiter, I just think it's so important like for you and like you're running your company, and I'm assuming that you are very close to a lot of your recruiters the way that you've been talking about it, but having like those conversations directly with your recruiting team so that they understand like what you are looking for and understand your business and really coaching them is huge because I just see a lot of companies where there's just such a huge gap between like their CEO and their recruiters. Like there's so many companies I never even once had any communication with my CEO whatsoever, and I'm like, I just think that's really important. I think it's important that your team, your recruiters who are out there finding the best people for your company have some sort of relationship directly with the CEO. Because, I mean, if you're building out an entire company, like you should want that team to understand what you're building, why you're passionate about it, like what your vision is. And a lot of times, like, companies have these all hands, but it's just something I respect so much about my CEO is just he comes to me directly and has these conversations. And of course, we're a really small company, but like the way that he's wanting to build out this company is that continues to happen because he just thinks it's so important. on every team, just like working directly with these teams to understand the vision and that everyone's aligned. And I do see as these companies grow, I think they lose touch with some of that with their recruiters.
Yeah.
And it would be cool to see companies, take a step back and reevaluate that and what like what's being put in between the top leaders to the recruiters, and like how can you close that gap a little bit, and or even just completely close the gap and just have that relationship, because I just think it's important, like that's how the process goes. You
Yeah.
start with the recruiter, and a lot of the times, like for our company, you end with the CEO. So those are like some of the most important conversations that you have.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more. It's like it's a very strategic part of the business, and it like you need to have those direct conversations. I don't think like executives should ever take too far a step back for being
Yeah,
directly involved in recruiting.
yeah,
I have done it in the past and I regretted it. I'm very hands
yeah,
on. Yeah, like I'm very hands on with anybody who comes to work for me. And it's also like it takes a lot of discipline, like keeping the bar like really high, even when the pressure's on to grow. Um,
yeah.
and by the
I
bar,
can,
like sometimes what I mean by the bar is like we might speak with an amazing person, but they're just not the right behavioral fit, or like they're not, or
yeah,
like they might be awesome, and but just not
yeah,
the right fit. But yeah, I think it's like executives should be involved, and you got to just maintain a super high bar, even when you
yeah,
feel the pressure to grow.
yeah.
That's
And
the hard part. One of the
it
hard parts.
builds
One of
so
the
much
many hard parts.
respect. Yeah. But I think it does build so much respect. Like if you see like it, even today, like I have so much respect for the leaders at my business, because they're still all so hands-on. They're all helping. And I was actually just talking to one of my coworkers about this other day. Like my CEO is still building stuff. My VP of success and sales is like, if his team is underwater, he's getting in there and doing, the dirty work. Like,
Hmm.
our support engineer manager, like he's still hands-on. Like everyone at our company is still in there, like doing things that they maybe were doing 10 years ago, and they still love it. And they're doing it because they're passionate about what we're building. And so it's just like, even at a bigger company, I'd hope that, your CEO, because like your recruiters will respect that. They're like, they love to see that. Like if you're having those conversations directly with them, and even if it's like a team meeting, it's just hearing that directly from your CEO, and they're coming to your team to be like, I want to talk this through with you, and just this is what we're looking for. Does any have questions? Let's talk, let's like what are we seeing, and what do you have questions on? I don't know, I just think it makes such an impact and creates such a respect for um your team and your CEO at your company. Like I think I have actually probably grown more passionate about what we're building because I've built a relationship with my CEO.
Yeah, well, that's like, yeah, I love that. I think that's really good
Yeah.
advice, and hopefully executives tuning in take that to heart.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I've never been like I haven't been at a bigger. Twilio was fairly large, and I had a short stint there, and I worked at a recruiting agency where I mean that's huge, and so it's just because we had branches like all over the United States. But like during those experiences, I just remember, I mean, we were so out of touch. Like I don't even know if
Right.
I knew who my CEO was at my recruiting agency. I only knew the person like leading our office,
Wow. Yeah.
and so.
Like so
I mean,
disconnect.
I did, but it was like on all
Sure, I know
hands
what you mean
calls,
though.
and I
Like,
was like,
don't know.
but it's just like if they were to reach out to me, like, hey, I want to get on a call with you and share with you more about like my vision for our company. If like I want to get a call on like with your team and just have a direct conversation with you, I think it just would have changed my whole perspective, just from the beginning, and continuing like those communications too. Like you can't just do it once and then just not talk to them for like 3 years. You have to make sure that you're again, so it's just I think it's really important. Like
Yeah.
your recruiters are out there trying to find you the best people, but are they going to find you the best people if they don't know you? They don't, they don't know your vision. They don't care about, what
They
you've
may not just
built.
care as much too, right? Like just building that
Yeah,
relationship will people will typically dig a little deeper, I think, too.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. Well. Anyways, look, this has been a lot of fun. We're coming up on time here, so it's probably a good stopping point. But Kenzie, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me on the show. I've had a lot of fun chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you too. I had a great time. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, this was a good one for sure.